Welcome, Wolverine Nation, to Week 11. Yes, Week 11 of Waiver Wire. I'm Jay Cameo.
I'm Victor Torres.
I'm Matthew Barturin.
And this week we are happy to be joined by another very special guest, Michael Suarez. Welcome back to the show, Mike.
I was super excited, last time being here, and, I was pretty successful. I think I won. So, it's just a great opportunity to be here, guys.
I'm happy that you're here with us,
Appreciate you, Mike.
Well, I don't think you won because I won that week, but, we're always happy.
Well,
we're always happy.
We're going to talk
but
about
yeah,
winning.
let's talk about our winners. Sadly, I did not win this week. Congrats to Victor this
It
week.
was me.
Congrats. Clap
Justin Fields with his 40-point game.
Justin Fields.
Another 40-point game.
He led me. You guys are right. I got Justin Fields and I won my last week. Now I'm not in last place anymore. You know who's in last?
This guy.
This guy.
You know what? Cooper
Matthew
Kupp.
Barturin.
I'm
And
just.
Cooper Kupp's out. Yeah. Before we
my
talk,
prayers are out to you.
let's go. What's up with last week? What are you guys' thoughts?
I don't think we can leave here without talking about Justin Jefferson's catch. I mean, how about it, dude? He climbed the ladder, make a one-handed grab through a defender's hand. It was insane. It might be catch of the year.
And that was probably the game of the year so far in that season. That the Bills Vikings.
We had two of the best catches of the year in that game too. Stephon Diggs had a nice little one-hander.
The Dolphins-Ravens game was a better
Okay,
game.
Mike. Well, let's. This guy's Dolphin. At least you guys are.
Saints guy.
Saints lost. Whatever. Whatever. We suck. We're gonna suck for the next 2 years.
And I
But
think,
that was. Go.
I think we can't leave here without talking about Jeff Saturday.
Oh,
His
gosh.
first game. I apologize sincerely
Exactly.
to Jeff Saturday because of last week. I'm not gonna lie, I was a little harsh. But now he's coming out here like Ted Lasso from the TV show and just newbie out here and just he coached them to a win and that's all you can ask for.
And
Matt Ryan back under center and played awesome.
That Colts offense looked very well against
For the first time all year, by the way.
against a very good.
Nah, I wouldn't call it good, but it's
a suspect rated defense. But they played bad defenses in the past this year and they've looked terrible against them. Jonathan Taylor, is he back? We don't know. Hopefully he is because he's on my fantasy team. But he looked like he's going to be back to that RB1 status from as he was last year. Matt Ryan looks like he's doing good, spreading the ball to Paris Campbell, Michael Thomas, Mo Alley Cox. So that's going to be that offense should be hopefully going up on a ladder, better every year.
Saturday,
Yeah, of course.
leading the way.
Yeah, So let's not waste too much time here, guys. Mike, you already know how the show works. Who's your pickup?
All right, so my pickup of the week is Marquez Valdez-Scantling for the Chiefs. So, Juju, he got injured last game. And, Mahomes, he needs another, receiver, to fill in the role that Juju had. And, Juju, he was a big, yards after catch guy. MVS, he's fast. He can get you yards after the catch, whatever. And, what's it called? He's just, I guess, projected to get more catches the weeks to come. And, the Chiefs have, a crazy,
they got a guy
heavy
named Patrick Mahomes under center.
yeah, and they have a heavy passing offense, so they need a guy like him.
I like the pickup. Obviously, I think McCole Hardman is still dealing with the injury,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
depends how this week goes. Marcus Valdez-Scantling can go from the wide receiver 3 on that team to he's got the lead role. So we'll see.
Yeah, and also, that's a great pickup, Mike, because I picked up a Chiefs receiver last week, Kadarius Toney, and he had 20 points almost. Now, that's what you're talking about in this Chiefs offense. We don't know who's gonna go off every week.
Yeah.
It could be Juju, but now hopefully he's doing better with his head injury. Could be MVS, as we saw in the 49ers game. He went off with those big plays down the field, or it could be Kadarius Toney now. Tyreek Hill replacement in the offense. So I'd take any receiver on that offense and I plug him in, especially with a component missing. They're gonna have to lean heavily towards the guys they have left in the receiver room who can. And he's also a great athlete. And Mike was telling you, he's a speedster.
he's super
He
fast.
gets open and he beats
very
the defense down the field. So those big plays in fantasy win games.
Yeah.
So, my pickup is another receiver, and his name is Donovan Peoples-Jones. He plays for the Cleveland Browns. And the first thing I'm saying is he's been playing good. This is last year's footage, but he's still a great receiver. And he's been playing with Jacoby Brissett at quarterback, and he gets Deshaun Watson back in a week or two. Am I right? Is it
Maybe
next
this
week?
week.
Yeah, next week.
Next week. He
week,
gets him
next
back next week. So if it's the Deshaun Watson we know from years prior, his MVP type level play, then this guy's stock is going to go through the roof. But if it's Deshaun Watson we saw in the preseason, then we're in for some
We're in for you to lose another week, not just in fantasy football, but
on the show. But this is more of a guy, and this is my catchphrase with the pickups. This is the guy you're not gonna start week 1. Maybe you could start him this week, but you're gonna start him later in the year.
I mean, you could honestly start him this week.
Yeah.
Like he's been really consistent the last few weeks.
Thank you.
Against the Dolphins, he had a good game.
Exactly.
So
he took us down the
You took
field.
the words right from my mouth, Matthew. He has gotten 10 points a game the past 4 or 5 games, with this past week against the Dolphins being his best game with a 15-point game. So, I mean, maybe the season keeps going up for maybe a 20-point game.
Upward.
We love progressing in this show so far. A lot of progressions. Victor, who's your guy this week?
We're going with another speedy wide receiver. I'm taking Packers wide receiver Christian Watson off of waivers this week. So he's had a very rough start to his rookie year. But this past week he had a masterclass of a performance. 8 targets, 4 catches, 107 yards, and not 1, not 2, 3 touchdowns. He had a 3-piece chicken McNugget touchdown. So obviously the Packers receivers threats. Jack Costa, our guest, was talking about it last week. The Packers have no receiving threats. He looked like a receiving threat. That Cowboys defense is pretty good, man. Like regardless of who was covering him, whether it was Anthony Brown, Trayvon Diggs, that Cowboys defense was really good. And Christian Watson went out there and he was, I'm good. I'm better. He went out there, he played super well. I don't think that this is an automatic, I'm going to pick him up and I'm going to start him, dude. Obviously, he just had a 30-something point game, 20, whatever it was. But I would totally be willing to have him on my roster, sit on my bench for about a week or two, because maybe Rodgers found his guy. Obviously, he said it. He struggles. He doesn't like those rookie receivers. And you saw it. I mean, there was a couple plays where Christian Watson took a play off, missed out on a free touchdown. But I would totally be willing to have Christian Watson sit on my bench to see how he progresses. Maybe Rodgers finds his guy once he hasn't been able to find his guy. He struggled with the receiving threats.
Yeah, I remember we saw this guy earlier in the year, and in the week 1 against the Vikings, he had that almost big play touchdown.
Forget week 1. That was the first play of the game.
First play of the game.
First
You're right,
offensive
and
play of the game,
it slipped right through his hands.
Yeah.
But he's been playing better. I mean, injuries have not had a hard start to his year.
He has had this concussion stretch. It seems like I feel like every other week this guy's getting rocked for a possible taking him out of the game play.
But I mean, hopefully he stays healthy, of course. But then also, the injuries, the week he's been back, he hasn't been performing. And also this past game, I mean, yes, the 3 touchdowns were amazing, but he had 4 catches for 100 yards and 3 touchdowns. Me and Matt were talking about this earlier. Four targets. I think it was like 4 or 5 targets. That's
It's eight targets. 8 targets. It's
Oh,
volume.
8 targets.
It's 8 targets. He only caught 4 of them, and it's volume. You know, at some point, 8 targets becomes 7 catches. It becomes 6 catches. It becomes 8 catches at some point. So you gotta be willing to have this guy on your bench to start him eventually. Plus, like Matt Cooper Kupp just got hurt. Maybe he needs a receiver. It could be Christian Watson.
Wow, that was great.
I
Matt,
do need a receiver. You're correct.
Exactly.
wow, you're right.
He's
Vic.
only rostered in like 6% of leagues.
Wow, that's a great stat right there, Victor. Great job there, Matt. Who's the guy you're picking up to help you win this week in fantasy, even though you're going against me? So.
So my pickup is Nico Collins from the Texans.
4 receivers across
Four
the board.
receivers. Yep. He had 10 targets last week, which I mean blows by the rest of his season in terms of target value. And he caught 5 of them for 49 yards and a touchdown. And it was against a tough defense in the New York Giants. So that was a surprising performance, and it's definitely something that makes you keep your eye on him for sure. And he also plays a weaker Washington defense next week. So he's just someone to keep an eye on. He showed some flashes last week of a top receiver on that offense. So I think he's definitely someone to keep an eye on in the coming weeks.
Yeah, that Texans offense, even though it has been okay, it's been all right.
Yeah.
I mean, Dameon Pierce has
Dameon
Pierce been the one bright spot on that offense.
They're run first team at this point.
I mean, I traded for him in fantasy thanks to little Mike over here, but he gets almost like 140 yards, 100 plus yards a game, and I'll bring up this point later, but they went up against a good Giants defense, and you just said he got a ton of targets and volume, which who they go against again this week, Matt? I'm not sure 100%.
Washington.
Oh, you just said that. Wow, I'm not listening to your conversation at all. But they just beat the Eagles. But I mean, I don't know how good that Washington defense is outside that.
I think
it's
it's definitely not as good as the Giants defense.
Yeah, but I mean, A.J. Brown, he did not perform.
Yeah,
that
the Eagles
well
did not.
yesterday.
The Eagles.
That's true. The
They
Eagles
struggled
definitely,
but like they don't have the players. I guess Nico Collins isn't a player, but like, I mean he is obviously. But they don't have any Jalen Ramsey's, Xavier Howard's. Like they don't have any super notable guys. But it's a solid.
And A.J. Brown also was kind of hurt the whole game. So
I mean, the Commanders have Bobby McCain, former Dolphin. So.
So he's got to be good.
So he's got to be the best player in the NFL, definitely 100%. No, 100%. But that's great pickups. Great pickups all around the board. Speed receivers, make big playability, and hopefully they get some big plays in fantasy and help the viewers win their leagues. Mike, who's your start? Mike? Tell me who's your start.
All right, so my start is Gus Edwards. He's like, all right, so he's my start, right?
Hard journey, and I'm sure it means a lot to him. Second down and 6, Edwards again, looking for a
it's his 5th season in NFL. Like he was hurt one year, but he's averaged over 5 yards a carry every season, and he had one. So this is gonna be his 3rd game this year. He had one game with 18 points, and they play the Carolina defense, who they haven't really done that good. They're the ones who allowed Joe Mixon 55 points. So I mean
Matt and Mike should know about that one.
yeah. All right, so I feel like he'll have a good week.
Yeah, this was my guy a few weeks ago who was my my pickup, and the week I picked him up, I mean, I had him in fantasy for about 2-3 weeks, but then when I saw he got injured again, because he just came off another small injury, but this guy's a big back, and he runs downhill hard, and Mike just said he averaging 5 yards a carry throughout his career, and this Carolina defense we said is terrible. Mike just said, so I mean, hopefully this guy goes off, because you always want to root for a guy who comeback story. He just tore his ACL last year. Like, we don't know. Outside the first game back, we haven't really seen too much from him. So hopefully, hopefully not, because I don't want Mike to win. But I hope he does good, because I'm rooting for him.
Yeah, we talk about this a lot. That Ravens offense, pound the rock. They love running the ball. They love those big running backs, and we love goal line touches, and that's what Gus Edwards is made for.
We do love goal line touches. Talking about goal line touches, my guy gets a ton of those. Jamal Williams, he's back on the show. He's back on the show, guys. Took him a few weeks. Took him a long time. But he's playing a bad rush defense in the New York Giants. Now, the New York Giants is a good defense overall, but they were a bad rush defense. Now, Dameon Pierce had about 96 rushing yards, and they forced a fumble on him. So I don't think Jamal Williams is going to get a forced fumble. But I think he's going to run the ball, because this Lions offense, even though it was a scorching start to the regular season.
That flame kind of died down.
That flame has died down very quickly. I mean, in the Dolphins game, it was a big scoring game. And I think, again, even though it's a good defense they're facing, the rush defense are going to try to lead on the run a little bit more. Jamal Williams gets those touches in 80 yards of the field, but he's especially going to get those touches 20 yards of the field, in the red zone, in the goal line, where that's where he gets most of his fantasy points.
I'm also going to put an honorary sit DeAndre Swift. I mean, Jamal Williams has taken over that backfield. DeAndre Swift had negative yards at halftime in this game this past week. So
yeah, I mean, also this coaching staff, they've said, we're not going to give him more carries. We're going to keep giving Jamal the ball, because, one, it's working, and two, DeAndre Swift is hurt. And he's playing hurt.
He's playing not 100%.
Exactly, so. And he's a franchise level running back. He's like a cornerstone in your offense that you want to keep for his whole career, which he has the capability to be that, but he's definitely not going to play now, at least at a good level this year, and you don't want to risk hurting him.
Not for your fantasy team, at least.
Not for your fantasy team, at least, exactly. But you don't want to hurt him even more, and I think that's why they're going to rest DeAndre Swift until he's 100% and just keep giving the ball, scoring those touchdowns like he just did up there on the TV screen. Vic, I was wondering all day, what's Vic's start? So tell me what your start is.
I'll tell you your start. We're going to stay in the NFC North. I'm picking up, you know me. I'm good with two things. Goal line touches and giving you a valuable tight end. Your valuable tight end should be Cole Kmet, the Bears tight end. So he's not your average household name. I'm sure most of you guys don't really know who he is. But in the past 3 weeks, he's found a huge role in the Bears offense. He has 5 touchdowns in the past 3 weeks. 2 versus the Dolphins, 2 versus the Lions, and I don't remember who they played the week before that, but I know that he scored. So he's getting that volume. He had 7 targets for 74 yards and 2 touchdowns against the Lions. As you see, that long touchdown right there. He's finding the Bears have finally found their offensive identity. It's let Fields run and Fields running opens up that pass game, and he seemingly has his trust in Cole Kmet. I'm pretty sure they both came in the same year, right after each other.
Yeah, either a year.
They're both on that
like
very
that.
young roster. So he's been balling he played very well versus some bad defenses. He plays Atlanta this week. That is the head honcho of bad defenses, especially against that tight end position. I think Cole Kmet is due for another huge week, and I mean, he destroyed my Miami Dolphins with his 2 touchdowns also. So I think Atlanta is not going to be able to stop that, especially they're not going to be able to stop Fields. They're not going to be able to stop Kmet. So Cole Kmet should be your starting tight end this week.
Yeah, and we talked about this last week with Justin Fields. They're finally running the offense through him. They're not making him sit back in the pocket and throw the ball. They're making him. They're letting him use his legs, try to scramble around, either rush for 150 yards, which is mind blowing.
When you're running around the pocket, who's your safety blanket? That tight end.
Tight end, exactly. And he's a big tight end.
He's big boy.
He's not like a little small, nimble. Like he's not like a Kyle Pitts.
Yeah.
He's
a big dog.
He's a big dog. He's like a Jimmy Graham type of tight end, which he sat behind Jimmy Graham the past few years. And then also he's the worst, like one of the worst defenses in NFL. Atlanta. They just let the Carolina Panthers.
Trash on Atlanta way too much on this show.
I mean, as a Saints fan.
Yeah, they traded away Deion Jones in the beginning of the season.
Exactly.
Their core middle linebacker, so that's like another guy covering.
But they do have. I don't remember this guy. I don't know pronounce his name, but number 3 on the Falcons. He's a good linebacker. He's a good coverage linebacker, but still, this is very bad defense.
I think it's Michael Walker.
Michael Walker. Yeah.
Michael Walker. That's who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And he's Cole Kmet should hopefully go off, because if he goes off, Justin Field goes off, and Justin Field goes off, I win my fantasy, and I win, and I don't want to be in last place because I want that guy to be in last place.
All right.
But Matt, on the table here before the show, we're talking about pre-show stuff. You had a very interesting start. What's your start?
My start is James Conner, new addition to my personal fantasy team, which is the one that I'm losing in. So hopefully he can give me a spark. He had 2 touchdowns and over 20 carries last week, and the goal line touches are key for him. Both touchdowns that he had were within 10 yards. And even though he doesn't average that many yards per carry, he doesn't get that many yards off of his carries, he still gets those touchdowns on the goal line, which to me is the most important thing. And the reason why we're doing this now and not before, with his injuries and with Eno Benjamin there, they cut him. They cut Eno Benjamin.
That's a very bad move.
Very random. So obviously they know that James Conner is back fully, and he's going to step into that lead role in Arizona. And I understand that Kyler Murray's coming back next week, but I still think that, on the goal line and in the red zone, they're going to give it to that strong back in James Conner. So, volume is key and goal line touches are key for him, and that's why I like him.
Yeah, well, before I say anything, I'm gonna let Mike talk, because Mike's sit is very funny with Matt's here, right here. So Mike, let's do your talking.
Okay, so my sit is James Conner. So I don't know. Me personally, I don't think he's a very good running back at all. Like, he doesn't even average, 4 yards a carry, which even 4, like, at minimum isn't, like, the greatest. You want more production and yards out of your running backs. And sure, he has some, touchdowns. He had
18 last year, right. Some touchdowns. Okay, yeah. That's why he was a good running back last year.
7 games this year, 3 touchdowns. The last 2 touchdowns from last week. So,
well, he's also been hurt, the whole year.
Benjamin was out, right? Or he was out last game, and they cut him. Like, he didn't play at all. And so, yeah, sure. And Kyler Murray also was out last week, so he had his best game because, they're running the ball more. And, they did win, but I don't know. I feel like that Cardinals offense, won't do the greatest. And I feel like, for the rest of the season, he won't be that good. I guess if he gets a touchdown, maybe 15 points. But I don't know.
I agree with Mike here. Outside of his touchdowns.
Wow.
Mike
doesn't do much. He doesn't do much. All right,
I
like James Conner though. I think I have to fall back on him. I guess they're second string running back. Crickets all around. Crickets.
That's
maybe
exactly
they'll fall
my
a lot
point.
more. Maybe they'll give him the 20 carries, 25.
Yeah, that's what we need, honestly, because when they get in the red zone, they can give it to him, and he'll push forward for that touchdown. And even though he doesn't get that many yards,
he's very desperate for this to work.
He's very desperate because
you know what? I am desperate. Okay, I am.
He needs to start at running back.
It made me start crying.
I would also like to add, he plays the 49ers defense, who have allowed the least amount of points to running backs this entire season.
Wow.
And they have a great D-line. They have Fred Warner at middle linebacker, so I don't know. He's just going to get stopped, I feel like.
I feel that too, Mike, and I agree with you.
But speaking of feeling good, who are you feeling is also going to get stopped this week?
Wow, Victor. You were getting better and better every week at this. My sit is an AFC running back, AFC East running back. Not on the Dolphins. He's not on the Bills. He's not on the Patriots. My sit is Michael Carter Jr. Yes, Michael Carter Jr. I'm pretty sure it's Junior.
I'm pretty sure it's not Junior.
No.
Michael Carter, running back for the Jets.
Michael Carter, number 32 for the Jets. Now, he's in his year 2. He's a 4th-round draft pick, as everyone knows. He plays New England. and the Jets have been historically bad against New England.
Historically terrible. Bad is an understatement.
I mean, the last game they lost was 22-17, so it's not a terrible game. But they haven't lost. They haven't beat the Patriots in 10 years. It feels like.
Yeah. I think that's 13 games.
13 games, which
That's
do the math. That's like
probably
7 years.
7
7 years,
yeah.
which that's crazy in my opinion. But last game he had 26 rushing yards. He was averaging 3.7 yards a carry, and as Mike just said, averaging under 4 yards per carry is horrible in the NFL. Or not horrible, but very bad. And then, but he did have 4 receptions and 35 yards against the Patriots. Now, I think this was the week before. This was the week before they got James Robinson. Not James Conner. I said James Conner, guys. But not before James Robinson. And they used James Robinson a lot more than the Jaguars did in the passing game. And he had the receiving touchdown against the Bills. And also, I think James Conner's gonna take this backfield and just take it away for his. Like, I don't know how long he's gonna be in the Jets. Hopefully, not that long.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. You were saying that receiving threat. Michael Carter wasn't a huge receiving threat. He wasn't a receiving threat when he was in college. Didn't really become one when he came to the NFL. James Robinson is a receiving threat. So I think Carter's due for a bad week, as he has been doing. I mean, obviously it sucks. He was supposed to take over that lead role. Now they go running back by committee. I'm sitting Carter also.
Yeah,
I also just didn't draft him because I don't draft Jets players. They suck.
That was amazing, Victor. That was great. I love it. Victor, who's a guy that you think sucks?
A name that keeps coming up on waiver wire. I'm sitting Browns wide receiver Amari Cooper.
Uh-oh.
So we may or may not have a bad track record with sitting Amari Cooper, but I have a little bit more reason for this one. So he got locked down by Xavier Howard with only 3 catches for 30 yards. Now, Amari Cooper has played. Xavier Howard hasn't played that good this year, and he's going to be covered by Tre'Davious White the whole game. I think Tre'Davious White this season has been a lot better than Xavier Howard.
Yep.
And the biggest thing is, if the Browns cannot establish a run game, they're going to rely on the pass. The Browns are not made to pass a lot.
They're not.
And we saw it. We saw it this past week against the Dolphins. The Browns could not run the ball. Nick Chubb only had 60 rushing yards. They were forced to throw the ball. Jacoby Brissett threw the ball 50 times. Or no, he didn't throw. Did he? He threw a lot. He threw a lot more than he should be. Mm-hmm. But Jacoby Brissett was throwing a lot. Didn't work for them, obviously. So this week they play a tough Bills defense, which I think is significantly better than I think the Bills defense is a lot better than the Dolphins. He's going to be shadowed by Amari Cooper. And I obviously think the Dolphins' front 7 is a lot better than the Bills, but the Bills seem to just they don't break, bro. They don't break. They will stop the run. They will force Jacoby Brissett or Deshaun Watson to throw. So I mean, if it's Deshaun Watson we saw in preseason, as Jake was saying, not going to be able to do a lot of throwing. And I'm also just going to base something off of last game. The Vikings against the Bills, besides Dalvin Cook's 81-yard touchdown run, he had 20 yards that entire game, and they forced Kirk Cousins to throw 50 times. Obviously, it worked. They won.
It worked.
But Cousins threw 2 interceptions and was kind of just throwing up prayers. So I think the Browns, if they are forced to throw the ball, even with Amari Cooper, I get it, he's a super talented receiver. If you're forced to throw the ball that many times with Jacoby Brissett, or first game back to Deshaun Watson, it's not going to go too well. And maybe we have another 2-interception game from the Bills' defense.
I mean, I'm not going to put any input on this because last time I said this, he dropped 30 points against the Steelers' defense. But, hopefully you're right about this one, Victor. We can get at least one time against Amari Cooper. Hopefully.
Amari Cooper definitely watches Waiver Wire.
He just takes it personally.
He's watching us.
Like Michael Jordan.
I'm sure he gets very upset because Belen locked him down when he was in high school.
Yeah, when we beat them in 2009.
And he took that personally.
He did take that personally. Well, Matt, who's a guy that's going to be taking your take personally this week?
Well, my sit is DJ Moore from the Carolina
wow.
Panthers. So his production and volume has gone down in the last couple of weeks. And now with the quarterback change, Baker Mayfield's coming back. We don't really know how he'll play. He hasn't, had a start since, he got benched. But even though he plays a bad defense in the Ravens, a bad pass defense in the Ravens, given that they give up the 5th most points to receivers, I don't know if I trust DJ Moore with, in that offense. DJ Moore is a great receiver. He had that great game a couple weeks ago. With that insane Hail Mary. But the last couple weeks...
Keep talking about the Falcons here.
There you go. He's gone down the last couple weeks significantly, and I don't know if I really trust him, and it's kind of risky, I think.
The QB room, Sam Darnold, P.J. Walker, and Baker Mayfield.
They can't really find,
they haven't found
a solid,
You've got 2 guys who are former top 3 picks, and you started the XFL quarterback for a couple weeks. I mean,
But it was working. They won a few
It worked,
games.
yeah. But it's struggling. I mean, at the end of the day,
Yeah.
PJ Walker wasn't great either. He was just playing quarterback because he went 1 week throwing a Hail Mary to next week. He had 9 yards at halftime, and they benched him.
That's
and DJ Moore, he's all talent, no production. So it just sucks to see that he's a super good receiver, but he just doesn't have he has nothing going for him in that receiving game.
Very true.
So, I mean, it sucks. It sucks to see. I mean, as a Saints fan, want the Panthers to lose, but the Saints are going to lose. So, NFC South sucks this year. The whole division sucks.
You know what sucks? We don't have a Dolphins game this week. But, once again, we're not going to lose. We don't lose anyways. So.
We don't lose, but we do have a UM game.
We don't have a young game.
In Clemson.
Going to Clemson this week.
Me too. But,
Didn't
guys.
leave me hanging this time. By the way.
I know, last time,
Nope.
we have to make an apology. Me and Matthew left
Wow.
Matthew left Victor. Yes, Victor hanging last time. So we're very
My
sorry
apologies.
about that. We're very sorry about that,
Thank you,
Victor.
guys.
So, guys, before we end the show, any quick 5-second, 2 cents? What are your 2 cents in for the NFL?
Go Dolphins.
I just want all my viewers here to pray for me. You know, my
No,
fantasy.
don't pray for him because he's playing
Because
me.
I'm doing well in all my leagues except for one, and is the one with the punishment. So I'm begging you guys to please pray for me. You know, I really don't want this to happen to me, and so please, I pray. You know, Cooper Kupp, Zach Ertz get hurt, quarterbacks on bye. It's not going very well. So I want you guys to please keep me in your prayers, and hopefully things look up for me.
You got anything to say, Mike?
None. I'm just excited to see this week of football, you know.
Yeah, maybe,
Football's great,
and
yeah.
then maybe football is great. Indeed. But maybe let's see if Mike wins the head this week. Actually,
Hey,
this
who
time.
knows? We'll
Who
see.
knows? Maybe he'll be the first guest winner on the show ever in Waiver Wire history. But hopefully Saints win. Hopefully the Saints win. They're probably not going to win. But and hopefully I win in fantasy. And they beat Matthew. So, you know, well, Wolverines. You know, sadly that's the end of the show. But it's a Waiver Wire. Waiver Wire. That's right. So hopefully we'll be back next week. Well, what will we do? We'll try to get a show out for you next week on Thanksgiving break. We'll think about it. But you know, that's all for this week, Wolverines. You know, I'm Jake Camejo.
I'm Victor Torres.
I'm Matthew Bartera.
And I'm Michael Suarez. Yeah, now.
Yes, you are. Well, thanks for watching.